In summary, what I'd like to do is talk to you about working together with Scott and the marketing communications people in Atlanta and around the world. We've really learned how imperative it is for us to build emotional relationships with consumers better than any one brand can in the entire world. We've understood that it's about leveraging content and experiences as the most valuable currency in building these relationships. And we know that we need to play that this content and these experiences need to play a relevant role in the lives of people, our Coke consumers, and connecting with their passions and other things they care about, resulting in love for the Coca-Cola brand. Now, where we end is a unique and unprecedented marriage of content and connection. Not old definitions, but newly refined. Content as experience, content as connective tissue that unites many of the key stakeholders who are working to make people fall in love with Coca-Cola. Whether it be Coca-Cola, the manufacturer, and its community of fans, or between Coke and its agencies, or between paid media and earned media. Now, it's clear to me that these new definitions of connections and content, that we as media professionals in this room need to take on a larger role and a greater responsibility in the creative messaging and content process. Now, I'm not saying that we're going to start conceiving the next big idea, but I am saying that we're going to do as much as we can and more to take the lead in amplifying that big idea. We need to use what we know about people's media behaviors and apply our intelligence in new ways. We need to mine new sources of data so that we can engage people in a more contextually relevant manner. We need to understand how a growing number of media channels can work together to effectively surround people and to encourage their active participation in a brand experience. The other thing I would say is, and I would say at the same time, we need to reframe our relationships with media owners and leverage them to inspire new and relevant content. In addition to what this is in addition to what we would get from creative agency commercial originators. This is what Coke expects us to do, and candidly, it's the only way we're going to get people to fall in love with Coke and sell another 1.5 billion bottles of their beverages. With that, thank you, and I know you want to turn this over to some questions with patience. Thank you again.
Thank you, Jack. And I'm sure, watching some of those ads, that many of us have fallen in love with Coke all over again. It's great. We've got some questions coming your way. Do sit down. I was fascinated to see that it was actually Coca-Cola that came up with the idea of taking a fallen sports hero and his father long before Nike got the idea. So I'm sure there are lots of questions.
Yes.
First of all, we have a question online. How many times more powerful than traditional marketing channels do you consider social media to be? Can we vote now, please? Almost there. Stop. Well, that's pretty dramatic.
Absolutely.
Probably won't surprise you.
No, not at all.
37% say that 4 times more effective are the new social media. And nothing else really comes close to that, does it? The same 17%, quite interesting, a bit of contradiction there. But overwhelmingly, it's the social media that count.
I think I would say a couple things. I think that social media, to the earlier question asked of Jim, I think that I would agree, and I voted, in fact, that is probably one of the more demonstrable changes of our industry today and probably going forward in the next 5+ years. It's the place where paid media, in this instance, I think paid media can act as a catalyst and encourage a conversation, but it can't control it. It can only maybe spur one. And I think what it says a lot, too, is in a day and age or long-standing time of consumer and control, which is terrific, and we understand that. I think that this is about giving the consumer an opportunity to discover the brand, discover content the brand might bring, as well as an opportunity to participate and, in fact, co-create with us some of the things that they believe the Coca-Cola brand, in this and in my examples, means to them.
But the link between new media and old-fashioned media is quite interesting. And we've had texted through a question from, I guess, one of our Spanish visitors, inquiring about a full-page advertisement in the Spanish press today. Apparently, there's a web rumor that Coke Light is to be delisted. And there's a full-page ad in the Spanish press today denying that. Why not on the web, is the question.
I would have to say it's probably at both places. It just may have been shown. It may have just been surfaced, in press at this time. So I don't know if it was the channel so much, but I think the interesting thing is that Coca-Cola and its agency partners responded as quickly as they did. I think that speaks volumes for a brand in a world where you do want to be a part of the community. But as such, you've got to be responsive. You have to be authentic, and I think that was an example of both cases. And I applaud Coke's responsiveness to rumors and managing them in a way that's respectful to their customers and their
and have
lovers.
No fear. Here in Spain, Coke Light continues.
Absolutely.
Now, could we have some questions from the audience? And we've got one over there. Thank you, sir.
Mike Donahue from the 4As. This is an interrelated question. You mentioned that there are 8 partners that are pulling together that great program. Number one, how did you pick the alchemist, the lead alchemist across that? And the second thing is, were any of those 8 companies not inside Publicis?
Let me answer the second question first. Absolutely. A good half of them were outside of Publicis. In fact, only a third of them were Publicis agencies. And Mike, if Scott were here, he'd give you a better answer. But the lead agency, the lead voice, to use your term, which I think is the right one, was Ignition, which was the event marketing agency for Coca-Cola, based in the U.S. But I think they've done a number of Coke events, including Olympics in Beijing, et cetera. And I think they do a phenomenal job. And it was really the role of the Starcom MediaVest group, the role of Publicis Worldwide from a creative standpoint to really, to participate and contribute our fair share. But really, this was driven by Ignition, and I think they have done a phenomenal job.
Thank you. Another question, please. While you're thinking, and I'm sure you've got plenty of questions you'd like to ask, I'd just be intrigued, Jack. Listening to Jimmy, he was talking about the fantastic reach that Wikipedia has had, the acceptance of people who use the net about his brand with nil spend. What does that mean for the industry?
Well, I think it means that the world of media content has certainly broadened its definition beyond paid and has moved into a place of earned, if you will, as well as borrowed, and probably in a way as much as owned. So I think it just says that you've got to be, as connections planners, those of us in the room, you really have to be broader in terms of your perspective. And more inclusive in terms of the kind of skill set not only your own agency has, but if Scott were here, I think that what he stresses most and correctly is it's unlikely that any one agency brand can do everything that's required in this day and age, especially when you cross from paid to the various forms of content. And that's where it requires collaboration of agency partners, whether they're inside your own family holding company or outside.